This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk about something we do know, and that's Dusty Rhodes is going to meet with Stephanie McMahon about signing with WWE, according to the Torch. He's going to come into the WWE headquarters, and the website would even quote Stephanie saying, "Dusty is an incredible asset, both creatively and as a talent. We're exploring all possibilities of working with Dusty in the future." And Wade would write, former WCW booker Dusty Rhodes was most recently head booker for TNA. He and WWE had communicated earlier this year regarding the potential for him being a part of their Legends program, but Rhodes turned it down at the time due to his involvement with TNA. The meeting may have expanded to include discussion of Rhodes joining the creative team, providing an experienced traditional wrestling perspective to largely inexperienced group Stephanie has surrounded herself with. So let's set that last line aside a little bit. Dusty Rhodes coming back into the fold. Is this something you would have been campaigning for, or what can you tell us about this meeting?
I was told about it in advance by Vince, and, Dusty had been inquiring about coming to work, and Dusty wanted to come in and be a part of the creative team and come in and help in some way. So I think Stephanie had asked, she didn't ask for a resume, but she was like, Dusty, tell me about yourself. Tell me what you want to do type thing. And I think Dusty sent her his book. You want to know what I done? Here's what I am, baby. This is what I done. American Dream Dusty Rhodes. Stardust himself, baby. So, it's kind of like, okay. But then, they met and just looking for Dusty to be possibly a part of the creative team. But the reason for the meeting was to get into Dusty's head as to what he was looking to do. Yeah. What are your thoughts? What would your plans be? And what would you want to do if you could wave the magic wand and make it happen here?
A lot to unpack there, but I do want to take an aside about the Stephanie thing. I think Kevin Sullivan years ago talked about having a meeting with Stephanie and Stephanie asking Kevin if he had a resume or something for her to review. And I know a lot of wrestling fans were just really, put off by that, with the insinuation that perhaps she didn't know what he had done. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I'm not saying that Stephanie was a student of the game, so to speak, or knew everything that happened outside of WWE, but the company had become more of a corporate animal. So even when guys come to the headquarters to interview now, it's probably an expectation that you're wearing a suit and tie. This is a publicly traded company. It's a different ball game. So if you're going to be a corporate business and have a corporate culture, or you're not, so to speak. So if you're not dressed the part and you don't have professional, resumes and things like that, then you might not fit as part of this system now. And maybe they didn't do that in Georgia or Florida back in the 70s, booking with Eddie or Ole or whatever. But this company has evolved to where now there is a corporate culture. And I think Stephanie sort of gets shit on for asking guys, for those professional things. I just don't think that's necessarily fair.
No, it's not fair. And it's completely unfair, actually. Look, I do the same thing. I will read as much as I can on potential candidates and different people, talent when they come in. I may have followed their career. I may, know something about them, but still when I sit down to meet them, I want to hear it from them. Tell me about yourself. What have you done? What's your proudest moment? What's your least proud moment? I want insight. I want to hear it from them. I don't want to, a lot of times, if a resume is more than 2 pages, I won't read it. If you can't hook me in 1 page, then, you've lost my interest in a lot of respects. But
just so you know, Bruce,
if you're there,
just so you know, if I wanted to hook you, you'd be hooked.
Well, that's what they say. The interview process is a getting to know process, and I think that, I know that Stephanie's not going to walk into any meeting unprepared and not knowing, and she ain't going to let on that she knows, but I guarantee you she's not walking into any meeting unprepared and knowing about the subject that she's about to embark. Now, she'll want to hear it from you, let you tell the story versus reading something in a book or hearing hearsay, because a lot of times you're going to hear a lot of negative things about people that they may have an axe to grind, or that our society tends to cling to the negative. Very little positive ever gets out. And we like to read about the negative and gossip about the negative, when the positive a lot of times will outweigh the negatives, and the negative may not be exactly accurate. So, yeah, it's tell me about yourself, Dream. I want you to tell me. Tell me about yourself, Kevin. I want you to tell me. Tell me what you've done. Tell me about what it was like when you did it. To get the mindset and be able to get inside someone's head a little bit and find out what makes them tick.
Let's talk about why he wanted to leave TNA. You know, I know he had tried his own promotion. I think it was Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling or something like that, but he had like his own indie thing going, and he was working as a booker for TNA, but that's probably in this era. I mean, they're operating on a bit of a shoestring budget. It's probably just a day rate. So getting a cod-locked real deal contract with WWE is more substantial money and more of a safe bet, more guaranteed money, if you will, right? That would be the motivation.
I think so. Just to be a part of something a lot bigger, and to be a part of something that more people could see and that he could really sink his teeth into. I think that Dusty had fun in TNA because it was a lot of young, kind of rebellious group of talent. But Dusty has always strived to be the biggest and the best. That's why he wanted to be at the WWE. He wanted to be with the biggest and the best. He didn't want to be sitting in the back of a pickup truck on the Universal Studios lot.
I don't even think they were there at this point. I mean, they may have been, but I think they were, actually they had just started doing TV down there. So I guess they just left the asylum or whatever, the fairgrounds.
Oh yeah, because that was actually the analogy Dusty gave me.
Oh, there you go.
I was sitting in the back of a pickup truck on the lot there, Universal Studios, Pumpkinhead, with being in the ninth office, with people coming in, and you know what I'm talking about, Pumpkinhead.
It's hard for me to imagine Dusty living in Connecticut. Were you excited about the idea that Dusty may be a part of creative, or did you think that, he might not necessarily be a fit with this new way of doing wrestling TV, the way it was done now with writing teams and scripts and revisions and things like that?
If you had asked me 10 years earlier, I think that from this time, I would have said Dusty would not have been a fit. But I think that Dusty had reached a point in his life and in his career that he didn't have to, be the whole kit and caboodle. So I looked at it as an opportunity for some of the younger members of the team that had never experienced anybody like that, a top guy that had been through the territories and had the experience that Dusty had, that would be healthy for everybody. And plus, I like Dusty.
I think part of what you're saying is you've got to sort of, once upon a time, Dusty was the bull of the woods. He was the biggest draw in the country. He was the star. And then he was another time the head booker with the hot hand. But at this point, he can be neither of those. In this corporate structure, he would have to just be a contributor. And probably with most performers, we've seen the way Ric Flair used to be the main event. He was the it thing. And in more recent years, he's been a contributor, whether it was with Charlotte at ringside or Randy Orton at ringside. And that's true with any performer. With age, they can't be the center of the spotlight. They've got to just contribute. And you felt like maybe by this point, Dusty was ready to embrace that?
I do. I really do. I think that even if he wasn't ready to embrace it, I think that For a lot of the people on the team, they could have sucked out what knowledge they could from him and still benefited, even if it didn't work out.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.